Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons. Actually, we're not. We're not going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons 5th Edition today. Holy cow! So we're going to talk about Index Card RPG, and we are going to talk about Marvel and DC, and we're going to talk about herding cats. All right. Okay, so I'm incredibly blessed. I'm really excited. Tomorrow, tomorrow I'm going to be running my Index Card RPG. Okay, if you're not familiar with that, it's it's one of the most brilliant tabletop role playing games that has ever been designed. It's created by a gentleman by the name of Ingrid Bernal. He also goes by Hankard Farinal, and he also goes by Brandish Gilhelm. All right, under any name, this dude's has forgotten more about game design than quite a few people who work at Wizards of the Coast ever knew. Like, this guy is an absolute, pure Mac genius. He's really, really smart. So what we're doing is we're using the Index Card 2.0, Index Card RPG 2.0 core book. We're using the Index Card RPG Magic book. We're using the Index Card RPG Vigilante City book, and we're using the Index Card RPG Worlds book. Okay. Now, if you're like, that's a lot of books, right? It is. Just so you're aware, I am blessed. Right? I have a little bit of a budget for my tabletop role playing games, and I can't believe this. All right, I actually literally buy every single product Runehammer Games makes. Right. I have reached a point. I don't own all of the 5th edition. Here we are. I guess it's impossible for me to do a video without talking about Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. So we are talking about Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. I was wrong. I do not own every Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition hardback. I own about a third, but I have reached a point where I will buy every single Dungeons and Dragons hardback that comes out, regardless. There might be a 1% chance I wouldn't if I was fundamentally or principally opposed, but at this point, I've made it a ritual. New D&D 5e book drops, I go to my FLGS, I buy it, and then I do a video proving to you I bought it. So basically, but Runehammer Games, I literally buy every single book the company produces, right? And the reason why is I've never, they cost $20, right? And I've never bought one of their products and said, this didn't bring me $100 worth of joy. It's insane. Their stuff is nuts. It's so good. So I'm really, really excited to run Index Card RPG. And what we're doing is, I told the players, okay, here's what we're doing. There's a hero build in Vigilante City. We're going to use that hero build. But what you're going to do is you're going to choose any Marvel character, any Marvel hero, okay? Or any DC hero, any Marvel hero, any DC hero that's ever been in a comic book. You're good to go, okay? And that's, and then we'll build it using the ICP RPG, which is a very fast, simple build, right? And then we're gonna play, right? Well, talk about herding cats. I do not love cats, but boy, do I do love tabletop role-playing game players, and I love the ones that are sitting around my table. But man, are they like herding cats, right? So I thought it was super simple, right? Pick a Marvel hero, pick a DC hero. By the way, my world, right, has a portal between the two worlds, and that portal's been open for 5 years. So you can encounter any DC hero in the Marvel world, and you can encounter any Marvel hero in the DC world. And I have these 2 huge DK books, right? They each have 1,000 characters, right? 1,000 DC characters, 1,000 Marvel characters. And I love this because this is so special and so unique. So one, the world is known. When everybody hits the table, everybody knows the DC world, everybody knows the Marvel world. It's just so simple and pure and beautiful, right? And then, in addition to this, I can do something. I can run my Index Card RPG Marvel or Marvel game, or my Index Card RPG DC game, right? And all the characters are mixed, right? And the reason is I can do it, right? Because I'm just telling my fiction story at my table, right? And the great thing is, Marvel and DC don't do crossover books anymore, right? But I can do a crossover in my Index Card RPG game, which is amazing. I'm so happy about it, right? It's so exciting, right? So that is really, really cool, and I just love that I can do this thing that these companies refuse to do anymore. Because back in the day, I mean, some of you might be old enough to remember 80s, 90s, 2000s. There were amazing crossover books. Like there was Batman versus the Hulk. There was just all really, really. There was actually one entire area where it was it was called Amalgam, which was a complete Marvel DC mix, and it was incredible. Like it was really, really something. So that was one. There's a lot there. There's just like the idea of the two worlds being mixed, and that is canon because of Amalgam. Amalgam was actually, there was like, I think it was called Dark Claw, where Batman was literally merged with Wolverine. So this is really cool. So here's what my players do. So it said flat out, hey, here you go. Create a Marvel hero, create a DC hero. So what do I get, right? First thing out of the block is one of the players is like, I'd like to make a custom hero. I was like, oh, okay, no problem. So I said, yeah, no problem. You can make a custom hero. So, and then one of the other players and we were on a Facebook thread, right? We're just talking together about what players we want to, what the players want to run, right? On the Facebook thread, and we have 4 out of 6 of our players on the Facebook thread, which isn't ideal, but I really feel bad because I feel like the players who aren't on the thread, they really do end up getting the short end of the stick a lot. Right, so just a little advice there. If you're one of those like, I don't do Facebook people, just realize there's a cost to that. Okay, all right. So basically, so then one of the other players gets inspired by the other one and says, yeah, I want to do a custom build too. Right, and I was like, okay, all right. But then I warned. I said, hey, just to be clear, right, like you could do a custom person, but one of the things you're gonna sacrifice there is the relationships, right? So, and they're like, well, what do you mean relationships, right? And so I was like, well, think about it. You got Batman, right? If Batman has to fight Enigma, right, and he has to fight the Riddler, is in Gotham South, right, and then you have Penguin in Gotham North, right? The way Batman's going to handle that is he's going to take care of the Penguin, and he's going to lead the Riddler, and he's just going to make a call and say, Nightwing and Batgirl, I want you to take care of the Riddler, right? And and that is a power. Like his relationships are a power, right? And so I think that's really interesting. So I said, just remember that you're kind of sacrificing the relationships, right? But both of them are like, yeah, we definitely want custom characters. I'm like, no problem, you got it. Run, because I'm listening to you guys, and compromise is good. I get it. All right. So then my other player comes back to me. He's like, okay, I got my Marvel hero, and I'm like, sure, hit me, Venom. And I'm like, no, no, dude, that ain't. So he throws me Flash Thompson, right? And I'm, which is a character that captured Venom as a, he works for the government, and they attach the symbiote to him. But it's clear that Flash Thompson is just a good person with a demon strapped to his back. I'm like, no, this isn't a, Venom has never qualified as a hero anywhere, right? Like, this ain't gonna work. So I was like, do you got any other options? But I did read the Flash Thompson, wiki that he sent me, just to see if I was like, okay. But no, it was clear that, Venom is always a villain. Like, he's eating people and killing people constantly. Like I'm like, that's not going to work. Because you're going to be aligned with another hero, and then the action is going to go player character versus player character rather than player character versus non-player character. So then he came up with Miles Morales, which was like, whoa, perfect. Bet we're in. Great, right? So I am just so excited about this game. But I was so fascinated. Like, I got 5 players, right? 2 players, I get no response back. That's okay. They don't need to even make their character before we show up on Sunday. No problem that there's no response. And I got 3 other people, and I'm like, make a Marvel or a DC hero, and they're like, here's a whole bunch of things that are not Marvel heroes or DC heroes. But this is the beauty of tabletop role-playing games, is you are getting people who are encouraged to be incredibly independent, incredibly unique, incredibly creative. So I'm incredibly excited about this. Can you help me? All right, so I'm building this. I'm building this concept for the Marvel DC world. Right now, my concept is um, in Fear Itself, which is a graphic novel in Marvel. Um, Tony Stark actually worked with the Asgardian forgers and created new hammers, right? And so basically, I'm going to kind of do a quest for the hammers, right? And it's going to pit different Marvel and DC heroes against each other. Do you have any ideas of who you think are good highlight characters from DC or Marvel, and any story hooks you would give me that I can add into the game? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider like, subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.